happen. But you're this huge corporation. It should not happen. You should face whatever consequences it is. And to see this happen, and it's almost like, oh, sure, it is nothing. It will blow over. No. You've just equipped the opposition to a fight against the prime minister, which you very well know is illegal. It has no basis, no legal basis to come up anywhere. And as such, you should have nipped it in the bud when you realized what was happening. And for me, it lays on a lot of these institutions, mostly these so-called journalists, and I'm calling them so-called because I didn't see one sensible journalist there with proper questioning.
A bit of half with them. A bit of half with.
and I'm laying it at the civil groups as well. I'm laying it. Yeah.
Oh yes. Oh, absolutely. But by the way, Harry, when you lack compelling vision, then you reach after people's character. You know, people who can't debate tend to cuss, you know.
Yeah, a loud noise and
yeah. Yeah. And that is exactly what happened. The aim was simple, Harry. Cloud the Prime Minister standing to weaken public confidence and shift the election conversation away from performance and result. And here is the uncomfortable truth, Harry. It may have partially succeeded.
I would say it not even partially, neighbor. Right? I think when we look at it, it still placed doubts in a lot of Jamaican mind. Right?
I hope that as they told me that the party is listening, because this 35-28 result is probably related to this, you know, Harry.
It could easily, neighbor. In fact, it's not even so much a 35-28. I'm looking at the potential voters, not seats.
Oh, you mean those who didn't even show to vote?
Those who didn't go vote. Because if I was going to vote for Andrew Holness and Jamaica Labour Party, and his integrity and character is in questioning, then I'm just not going to vote. And as such, that 3% is what? 3% decrease. We can do the math, and that's a significant amount of persons who didn't vote. Because, neighbor, when we looked at the potential numbers going forward, and I would have said the Jamaica Labour Party, from what I've seen, have actually gained over the last 2 decades of elections significant ground in terms of persons who comes out to vote for them.
Yes.
This election was a slow down based on that trajectory. And this very well could be because Mr. Holness was being questioned. And what makes it worse, in a neighbor, is that it wasn't just that Mark Golding said what he said and got away with it. The journalists doubled down, which in people's mind, so much people can't tell lie on one man.
Absolutely. So you had it on the political platform. The bloggers are doing it, and it comes on the debate stage from the leader, and the journalists are doubling down on it. Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. Harry, the narrowing did not happen in a vacuum, Harry. When allegations are aired without legal conclusions, when investigative processes are presented as guilt, some damage will always stick, even if nothing is ultimately proven, Harry. Damage done.
Neighbor, some damage will be irreversible, right? Because the worst thing you can do is put doubt into people's minds. Even if you come with the facts, they will doubt that facts after. And in fact, you have a time frame to produce the truth before those allegations and those lies seep deeper.
Yes.
Because look at it this way. Edward Seaga is the most demonized prime minister in the history of Jamaica thus far.
Yes.
The things that are said about him, to this very day, there is still people in his generation that runs with it, despite being debunked, despite giving the facts and the truth. And as such, it is no different because the time has elapsed for you to correct it. So you have a time to nip it in the bud. You have just enough time to give people enough to think about both the doubt and the truth. And then there's time elapsed, which means it has already taken root in the minds of people. And that is something you can't remove no matter how hard you try. Because they will always, in fact, because of how many high profile people, journalists, institutions, and so on, have doubled down on this, it leaves the people to question, why would so many institutions, they have integrity too, why would all of them come and say, this is so? This one document, regardless of where it's coming from, still doesn't remove that doubt in my mind as a person. And that is how the average Jamaican thinks. So no matter what, even when Mr. Holness's certification comes through, people will still put the doubt because the damage has already been done. And it will take years before it's being removed, if it is ever being removed.
Very, very good. Very, very good. And Harry, hold on there for me. Let me go to a couple of the callers. Moderator, I understand that the call list is very, very long. Can you put them up for me? Let me see what they have. We have Harry with us. And Jobel, you're first. Go ahead, sir. Hello. All right. So Harry, are you still there?
I'm still here.
Yes. Okay. All right. So the political result, therefore, saw a narrowing, and we're suggesting that narrowing did not happen in a vacuum, because when allegations are aired without legal conclusions, when investigative processes are presented as guilt, some damage will always stick. And this is why this tactic was so reckless, Harry. But then there are some people who argue that if the opposition believes that this was a victory, it was a hollow one, because weakening trust in the Prime Minister by abusing process does not strengthen democracy, it weakens it. Now, speak therefore, Harry, to the democracy as far as its strength is. So what you have is a strengthened parliament in a weakened democracy.
Of course it is, neighbor, because of the medium and strategy in which was employed to get there actually weakened our one system that we have, which is democracy. And
Yes.
what I mean by that is the institutions, the process, the procedures, the lawful things that you can do in an election campaign and in an election mode was thwarted. It was weaponized. It misaligned with the very purpose. And also, you have now diminished the trust of the very people who are the strength of this democracy. Because the truth is, if the people does not exercise their right in the democratic process, then it weakens more and more. For example, Mr. Golden stated that this is a minority government.
Yes.
Truth is, if this is a minority government, he is a minority opposition. But he will not accept that because, of course, he's 400,000 strong, right? And what you do and what it takes for you to get that quote-unquote power, because I think 28 seats let him think it is more powerful. But they know what they've done. They know all the tricks that they've pulled out. I mean, one person was bold enough to come and apologize, which is Mr. Dayton Campbell, right? Which I think him doing that, regardless of what undermining and underhand thing is happening with him for political power in the future, it shows that he has more, I would want to say, forthright. He has more gall, a little brazen to do it, but that is more than what the opposition leader has. And that says something about the overall process that they took. and route that they took to try and get victory in this election. And I know they will say they gained 14 more seats and they're now 28 strong and all of that. But you're still the opposition. And the people didn't really see you as a viable opposition in the process if you did it the right way. And for those people who think there's not a right way in politics, there is. Because politics and an election does not happen without laws and regulation. Now, because Mr. Golding and his team understands these laws and have people institutionalized strategically over years, decades, they're able to not just bend the rules, because you have to understand them to bend them, right? But they broke the very laws. They utilize and weaponize the laws in such a way where the very people who does not understand their civic right and does not understand the full process are easily misled. And so much so that they have not realized that it is a diminishing of the social fabric and construct of their own democratic process and their own democratic right that is being etched away, being nibbled against. Because what is going to happen, they're going to continue to do this as much as possible. So they're like a kid. A kid will push the boundaries until they're disciplined or caught. And if there's no repercussions for that, they will continue to push the said boundaries a little further. And that is exactly what was displayed in the last election, more so than any other election in the 2000s, right? Because we've seen poor elections, but this one was extremely poor. In fact, it's one of the worst in our history. There is, because of how they went about it, right? Because this election wasn't about for the Andrew Holness administration, it was about performance, right? For the opposition, it wasn't about providing an alternative perspective and strategies and policies for the people. Because the truth about that, it didn't hold water. Whatever they put in the manifesto couldn't hold up. People may say I'm being biased. All right. For example, I'm still waiting to know how they would have funded the 3.5 million for the threshold. The same opposition that fought it to bring it at just over 1 mil, they fought it at 1.5, they fought it at 1.7, 1.8, 1.9, and all of a sudden wanted to go to 3.5 and couldn't tell us. The great mathematician that Mr. Crawford is could not have given us the figure.
Is he really?
Well, he's the best mathematician they have, right? And he couldn't give us how it would have been funded. In fact, they were hoping on the backs of the said 1% growth, approximately, the economy had at the time. They were putting everything on that 1% growth to say they'll move it forward, but no real way to how it will accomplish it. And in fact, that was their biggest thing running. And they couldn't do the simple calculation to realize that, hey, it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
And it shows that.
Yeah. Sorry, Harry. In the 13 minutes that we have left, Harry, I got a feeling that never before has a sitting prime minister been subject to such sustained political assault. The elections are over, Harry. And every single day online, on social media, they are attacking the prime minister. And the attacks are not built on any court rulings or proven misconduct, but on a process that is still in motion. Harry, when is the society going to respect the rule of law? When is the society going to observe that a man is to be presumed innocent? When is the society going to be fair? When? Why are we like this, sir? This is dangerous, because it erodes confidence in institutions, Harry. It confuses investigations with guilt, and it teaches the public that perception matters more than proof. We can't condemn people on perceptions, Harry.
It's a cultural development around the political arena, neighbor, where we've put every politician to say they have done something wrong or they must do something wrong, or it's just a matter of time before we caught them in doing wrongdoings. That is a nature that has been developed for quite a while. And as such, it is one of the very few nations in this world that forces you to prove innocence rather than guilt.
Yes.
Because in the court of law, you prove guilt
Harry.
and not innocence. And I think people in Jamaica now who presume, those person who think they know everything and have all that.
People condemn you on an allegation in Jamaica, sir. On an allegation.
Yeah.
People will condemn you on, and people will condemn you on an allegation. Nobody's testing to find out, is it true? Nobody's waiting to find out, did you do it? The minute they hear it, they accept it as facts. That is the society we're living in.
Everybody, every person is judge, jury, and executioner. That's how they see themselves when they don't have the information. In fact, they're not even attempting to try and find the truth, If I saw it, if we hear it, it must go so or something go so. It can't all be lies. When the truth is, we've seen it. I mean, John has put it forward, the tenets of propaganda. We saw it. We know what is happening. But because the very institutions that should be holding up this process, neighbor, who should be fair, factual, and truthful, have failed the people, and the people with no true direction of knowing how to get this information for themselves and deciphering it, because that is the most important part. The comprehension of what is communicated, no matter how small it is on the people, and they themselves don't have that. And we see the critical thinking levels and the emotional intelligence levels of Jamaicans are very low. In fact, it's probably at an all-time high compared to where our educational level is.
Yeah.
And this is what is now hurting the process.
Yeah. So whilst the PNP may have shifted numbers on the scoreboard, they have lowered the standard of politics, Harry. The standard of politics in Jamaica right now is very, very low. Very, very low, Harry. Yes?
It is. Yeah. Because when you look at
and I fear, Harry, that it may get even worse. Which is why a program like this, Harry, will have to survive all the attacks that we have come under. We will have to survive, because I must tell you, the discourse is at a low stage, very, very low.
And this is what I spoke about, neighbor. I just spoke in terms of the government sense, where where leadership, governance, and management is, the bar has been placed at a high level, or certainly higher than it was before. But the same is true about in the reverse for the political arena. One party is looking to raise the standard. The other is looking to ensure that the standard doesn't move. In fact, they want the standard to go to hell, so they have a say. They want to still be viable, not by improving and being better, but by reducing the understanding of the process for the people, by also demonizing any potential leaders that are out there. And as such, bring it to a ground level, neighbor, where they may seem as if they're equal to or above, which is not what Jamaican people should be accepting. So we may not be accepting poor governance again, but it also comes with how we get to that governing party or that governing administration. Because before you get the good governance and the high standard, you have to ensure that the political process is held even higher. That way you can get the best that is available to lead you into good governance.
Yes. I don't think we have time to cover the Joyland Silvera reportedly pleaded guilty to the lesser offense of manslaughter in connection with the death of his wife, Melissa Silvera. I wanted to point out to the listeners the political implications of this. I think we probably will have to run on that tomorrow. But a very interesting development in that case, Harry.
It is, neighbor. I've looked into just a few parts of it, because this it's a plea deal, really.
Yes.
Right? Just out of thin air, simply means a few things, and just one of them I'll share. The prosecution may have too strong of a evidence that they
Yes.
may have, taunted around a little without showing their hand. And as such, the defense, who is crumbling a little, may not be able to withstand that
Yes.
potential evidence coming forward, because they themselves don't know what is coming, and they also don't think they have enough to stand up to what is coming. So
would I be correct? Would I be correct that it is likely that the prosecution will accept the plea? That this would be some negotiating taking place behind the scene?
It will. They'll more likely do it for a civic way, for what they want to call more civilized aspect. But I'd love for it to should have, well, for me personally, I would have wanted it to go to trial and do the full course. That my tax out, that for me would have been taxpayers' money well spent.
Yes.
Because I don't think we can do it for other accused and not somebody of this profile.
The thing though, many are attaching the politics to this. Any serious violent crime involving a former parliamentarian raises questions, though, Harry, about judgment, leadership, and the political culture. There is a sense in which the opposition, not personally, but it looks bad on them.
Of course it will, neighbor. You can't, because he's a high profile person in the party. You can't,
a former member of parliament.
Right. At that level, serving more than one time.
To now be admitting to have committed manslaughter is significant in our culture and our history.
It is, and I think him being quote unquote made an example, and this is why I said I wanted to go to full trial and not just accept a deal, is that it would strengthen our judiciary process. And I think people will now believe in that process more. Here's why. In Jamaica, there's a thing that there's one law for the poor man and one for the rich. And this going to the full extent of a trial, and the outcome being the outcome I anticipated to be, would have almost reinstated it to the average man that, hey, there's no longer one law for poor man and one for rich man. The playing field has now slowly been leveled, and as such, we can trust the process again. That is a statement for me, if it had gone the full trial, would have made. And I think it's a bold statement to have been made.
The whole matter of any injury though to the reputation of the PNP, do you see this case hurting them in any way? Would you think that this is a personal matter for Mr. Silvera, or do you think his association with the PNP will in any way affect perception of the party?
Well, I can tell you this, neighbor, because both parties are judged separately, right?
Yes.
They will do enough, including the media, because I'm not leaving them out of this. They'll do enough to kind of segue and move Mr. Silvera political affiliations out of the limelight. They will.
But how can you do that when he's a former member of parliament of the party?
What they'll do is look at the time frame in which this has been going on and how long he was there before this evidence came up. And it's
So the
weak.
optics, you don't think the optics are damaging?
It will have some impact on it. But what will happen, neighbor? That's why I said this is really two outcomes or two separate parties. Because I can tell you, had this happened to the Jamaica Labour Party, we wouldn't be hearing low vibrations about it. It would front page, left, right, and center. Right?
You are saying that that the PNP tend to be judged lesser on these matters like this?
They are judged by the same standards, neighbor. We've seen it on all levels, right? In fact, look at the alleged thing with George Wright, all right?
Yes.
And look at what the Women's Right for the People's National Party, they came out in numbers, want to organize march and everything. But then the shoe fit on the opposite foot for them and they went missing. There's no media covering it at that level, all of that. So we see how, in fact, the People's National Party get a slap on the wrist because of how institutionalized their members are. Because, I mean, we know they have people in specific areas. It will take some time to remove those people because I don't, for one, have a problem with the institutions that they head. I have a problem with the management of the institutions, right? That they have infiltrated and corrupted. That is my problem with it. And as such, they will always find a way to kind of brush it under the carpet until we're ready to clean house. Because I can tell them, this matter won't go down in history lightly because it's going to resurface at a time when it will hurt them the most.
There's a bit of sadness in discussing this, Harry, because this woman, wow, I tell you, it's a very sad case. In Harry, this is it's a couple, and the man is now coming out to say, I know about it. I mean, would you like to help us with the definition of the difference between manslaughter and murder itself?
Oh, it went out a little there for my neighbor. Could you repeat?
The manslaughter. What does that mean versus admitting to murder? Manslaughter is premeditated, right?
Right. So really, the crime of to be politically correct and because of TikTok, unaliving someone neighbor without quote unquote malice, right?
Right.
Which is almost what they want to claim, not amounting to murder, which is almost like technically a lighter aspect to murder, right?
You did not intend to do. You didn't intend to do. It's like you're driving down the road and you hit someone, someone
by
run across
accident
and you hit them.
Right. Well, of course, murder itself has a premeditated aspect to it in the very definition of it, right? And it's an unlawful premeditation.
Right. Very technical there. And as you said, because of the community guidelines, we are watching our language here. But I don't see how. Anyway, I probably it's gonna be tough to see how manslaughter is accepted here, because the fact of the matter is that the woman lost her life by. But anyway, it could be said that there was an accident or the gun. Don't even know what to say. I'm so careful.
Went off and
Right. All of that, and that it was an accident. But we will pick up some of this tomorrow, Harry. Thank you so much.
And definitely, neighbor, definitely. And I think because I was out for a little while. I don't think we covered the press conference thing regarding the health ministry.
No, not at all. And I really want to delve into Mrs. Birchall's response to the PNP's to the question about the PNP's money. So I think probably tomorrow.
Definitely, Neva, because
But then we have Parliament. Then we have Parliament.
I think some of these things will come in Parliament, so we may have
Yes.
a cross-segment aspect of it. Because I really want to ask Ms. Burchell, why should we await the People's National Party audited financial statements to know what happened to the money?
Imagine such an answer. This afternoon I was asking who is training this lady to talk. I don't think she's making much sense at all.
But the tricky thing about it, neighbor, is that either it is Miss Burchell or Mr. Golding has muzzled Mr. Jackson, who is rather the leading person for the relief. But he has not been able to speak on this matter when he is the person tasked to lead it.
Yeah. Miss Burchell is saying that we have to wait on the PNP's audited. When are those going to come out, sir?
I don't remember if they do theirs by calendar year, or financial year, because we know there's two different things. So if it's a calendar year, it should have been due from the 15th of January. If it's the financial year, it would be ending of March going to April, about April 15th.
It's a fair question the journalist asks about the money that was collected on behalf of Jamaicans.
It's beyond fair, neighbor, because you can't be asking the government to show something that you aren't showing. Remember, you created this thing as if you are government yourself. We never know Jamaica have two governments.
There you go. And Miss Burchell is saying that we have to wait for the financial audit of the party. The money that you collect for the people, we must wait for the party audited financials. What can go so? By the way, go ahead.
It really doesn't look good. Because even Mr. Golding, he has said a few things, and I think I might double down on it. To point it to the technicalities of the people, because he was caught in two lies on one matter, neighbor. I don't want to say no because we don't have the time, but by his very admission, he was caught in two lies.
Boy, I tell you. And I heard the finance minister today saying that the country should return to a debt to GDP of what? Of 60% in 5 years? Amazing, Harry.
Of course, neighbor. Definitely.
And the IMF saying that we should be growing by about 3.5% in when? I have to go and listen back to that.
I'd have to check. I think it's after 2027, I believe, which is in line with BOJ. But I want to give the people the exact information.
She was on Nationwide this morning. Yeah. So we produce tomorrow for those, eh?
Definitely, neighbor.
All right, then, man. Have a great night.
Same to you, neighbor. Caroline, I'm not getting any giggles tonight.
Oh, dear.
Have a fantastic night, everybody. This is where we bring the curtains down.